Think of your earliest memory. Go on, take a second. What comes to mind? Is it a specific room from your childhood with the light hitting the dust motes in a particular way? Is it a voice, maybe a grandparent's, warm and familiar? Or a face you haven't seen in years, suddenly as clear as day? Hold that memory in your mind. Now, here's a thought that might surprise you. That memory is not stored inside your brain like a video file on a computer. There is no tiny, perfect recording tucked away in a neurological folder waiting to be replayed. It doesn't exist. Instead, your brain rebuilds that entire experience from scratch every single time you recall it. It does this by activating patterns distributed across millions and millions of neurons. The visual part of that memory, the color of the wallpaper, the shape of a toy, might be stored in one network of cells. The sounds, like that familiar voice, are held in another. The emotion you felt, whether it was comfort or excitement or fear, resides somewhere else entirely. Every time you remember, your brain acts like a master conductor, pulling those separate pieces back together from all over the orchestra to recreate the symphony of that moment. Today, we are shrinking down, going inside the brain to watch a single memory form, from the very first spark of an electrical signal to a connection that might just survive for the rest of your life. Because a memory isn't a static file. It's a living, breathing network. Let's start at the beginning. Imagine you walk into a bustling cafe. The sensory information is overwhelming. Your eyes scan the room, taking in the tables, the people, the art on the walls. Your ears capture the clatter of ceramic cups, the hiss of the espresso machine, and the low murmur of a dozen different conversations. Your nose detects the rich, earthy smell of coffee beans. Hundreds of signals are flooding your brain. But here's the thing. Most of this information, nearly all of it, will disappear within seconds, vanish as if it never happened. Why? Because memory doesn't just happen, it begins with attention. Your brain is a master filter. It's constantly sifting through the tidal wave of sensory data from the world, making split-second decisions about what is important enough to deserve deeper processing. The conductor of this filtering process is your prefrontal cortex. It acts like a spotlight, directing your attention toward what it deems to matter most. But there's another critical factor that changes the priority level of an experience: emotion. A routine cup of coffee on a Tuesday morning, your brain will likely discard the details by lunchtime. It's just not that important. But if someone sits down at that same table and gives you life-changing news, a proposal, a job offer, a difficult confession, that moment may remain vivid for decades. This is where another part of the brain, the amygdala, steps in. It's like an emotional highlighter, marking the experience with a tag that says, "Pay attention, this matters." At the same time, a structure called the hippocampus gets to work, acting like an event coordinator. It starts organizing the raw data, the who, what, when, and where. It binds the face, the place, the time, and the sequence of events into a coherent episode. Attention, you see, doesn't just help you notice things. It opens the very door to memory. So attention has flagged an event as important. Now the hippocampus takes center stage. Tucked deep inside your temporal lobes, this seahorse-shaped structure is the temporary memory coordinator. Think of it as a master librarian for new experiences. It doesn't necessarily store every single detail permanently itself. Instead, it does something far more clever. It binds all the separate pieces of the experience into one connected, coherent pattern. The face you saw is linked to the words you heard. The words are linked to the location is linked to the emotion, and it all gets stamped with the order in which it happened. In the brain, this manifests as small groups of neurons becoming active together, all at the same time. Researchers call this physical trace a memory engram, a literal physical pattern of connected cells that represents a particular memory. It's like a unique constellation lighting up in your mind for that one specific moment. But this initial constellation is fragile. If the pattern is weak, if you were distracted, or if you never think about that moment again, the stars in that constellation will dim and the connection will fade. But when the event is meaningful, or when you revisit it, the connections between those neurons begin to physically change. And that's when things get really interesting. Let's zoom in, way down to the microscopic level. We're looking at the space between two individual neurons. This tiny junction is called a synapse. It's a microscopic gap that signals have to cross. When one neuron repeatedly activates another, when one star in our memory constellation repeatedly signals to its neighbor, the connection between them can become stronger and more efficient. This isn't just a metaphor. The brain physically remodels itself. The sending neuron might start releasing more chemical messengers, known as neurotransmitters. The receiving neuron can become more sensitive, essentially growing more ears or receptors to better hear the signal. In some cases, the synapse itself can grow larger or even split to form new connections. This strengthening process is called long-term potentiation, or LTP. It's been a leading biological model for learning and memory for decades. Think of it like walking through a field of tall grass. The first time you make the trip, you leave only a faint trail. It's hard work. But if you walk that exact same path again and again, it gets packed down. It becomes wider, clearer, and much easier to follow. Learning and remembering create these preferred pathways through our neural networks in much the same way. Neurons that activate together strengthen their connection. Now comes the step that so many people underestimate, the one that solidifies all this hard work: sleep. While you rest, your brain is not shutting down. It's running a critical night shift. During certain stages of sleep, particularly deep, slow-wave sleep, your brain is busy consolidating the memories of the day. The patterns associated with your recent experiences, like that significant moment in the cafe, can be replayed over and over again, but at high speed. This replay involves coordinated activity between the hippocampus and the neocortex, the vast outer layer of your brain. Think of the hippocampus as a temporary workspace, like a busy desk where you've gathered all your notes for a new project. The cortex is the larger, long-term archive, or library. Through this repeated reactivation during sleep, the memory becomes less dependent on the hippocampus. It's like the information from the temporary notes is being carefully filed away in the main library, integrated with all the existing knowledge you already have. This process doesn't happen in one perfect transfer. Memory consolidation can continue across days, weeks, and for some complex memories, even longer. Sleep is what helps turn a fleeting experience into a lasting memory. But here is the twist in the story of memory. Every time you remember something, the memory doesn't just get replayed, it temporarily becomes flexible and changeable again. Your brain reconstructs it from all those distributed pieces, and in that moment of reconstruction, the memory is vulnerable. This means that memories can be strengthened by recall, but they can also be updated, distorted, or even blended with newer information. Your current mood can color the emotional tone of a past event. A story someone else tells you can accidentally get woven into your own recollection. This is why two people can remember the same event in completely different ways, and why feeling very confident about a memory doesn't always guarantee its accuracy. Memory is not a perfect recording. It is an active, biological reconstruction. Which brings us to forgetting. We tend to think of forgetting as a failure, a sign of a faulty system. But in reality, forgetting is not a bug. It's a feature. It's an essential part of a healthy memory system. It prevents your brain from becoming hopelessly overloaded with every single irrelevant detail of your life. Some memories simply weaken because their neural connections are rarely reactivated. The path through the grass grows over from disuse. Others are disrupted by interference, when similar experiences get jumbled together. And sometimes the retrieval path itself just becomes hard to access, even though parts of the memory might still be there. Forgetting is the brain's way of tidying up, prioritizing what appears useful, meaningful, or repeatedly needed. So, knowing all this, what can we do to support this incredible process? While we can't guarantee perfect memory, several habits are proven to support learning and long-term brain health. First, pay full attention. Multitasking is the enemy of memory encoding. It divides your brain's resources. When learning something important, remove distractions and focus on that one task. Second, use active recall. Don't just reread your notes. Close the book and actively try to retrieve the information from your own mind. This effort of pulling the information out is what powerfully strengthens the retrieval pathway. Third, space your practice. Review information across several days rather than cramming it all into one marathon session. Each successful retrieval acts like another walk down that path in the grass, making it more permanent. Fourth, connect new information to something you already know. Ask yourself, how does this relate to what I'm familiar with? Creating meaningful connections gives your brain more hooks to hang the new memory on, creating more potential retrieval routes. Next, prioritize sleep. As we've seen, sleep after learning is critical for consolidation. Chronic sleep loss can interfere with every single stage of memory, from attention to recall. Then there's your physical health. Exercise regularly. It supports blood flow to the brain. Protect your heart by managing blood pressure and cholesterol, and correct hearing and vision problems. If sensory information is unclear to begin with, the brain receives a weak, fuzzy signal to encode. A healthy body supports a healthy brain. And finally, if you notice persistent or worsening memory problems, seek professional help. Many conditions beyond aging can affect memory, and many are treatable. So, how is a memory made? It begins with attention, selecting an experience from the chaos of the world. The hippocampus then binds its scattered pieces into a coherent whole. Synapses between neurons strengthen with use. Sleep helps stabilize and reorganize that pattern for the long term. And every time we remember, we bring that network back to life, slightly changing it in the process. Every skill you practice, every name you learn, every story you tell, each one changes the physical connections inside your brain. You are not simply collecting memories like photographs in an album. Your memories are continuously, actively shaping the very person you become. Subscribe to Cellwise Health, where science meets everyday health.